So welcome back, yogis. Today we're going to be doing session 2 as part of our group program for those struggling with symptoms of PTSD. So the yoga class we're going to be doing today follows and is going to build on the class we did last time. We'll be adding a few new postures today and a few friendly reminders. Number 1, you can stop at any time and always know you can come out of any posture that isn't working for you, and maybe you come back to one of the 3 home base postures that we did last time. So you could come back to a seated position, you could lie down in Shavasana, or maybe take a child's pose. So inviting you to follow along as best as you can. Always know you can choose to keep the eyes open. You could also experiment with gently closing the eyes, just seeing how that feels for you. Some folks do find it easier to stay more here when the eyes are open. So just go ahead and explore that. So let's get started. We're going to come into a child's pose to begin. So coming down onto making it kind of a nice wide variation, so maybe widening the knees and taking the hips over the heels, and then go ahead and bring the upper body forward, and maybe the forehead comes to the floor. So just settling in. Always bend the arms slightly. If it's pulling on the shoulders, you can always ease it off by just gently bending through the arms. And we're going to be moving slowly through postures today, maybe a minute or 2 in each. So just taking your time, beginning to arrive on your mat. And right away, just draw your attention to the tip of your nose. Maybe start to deepen the breath. Smoothing it out. So inhale deeply. And exhale completely. Drawing your focus to the nose, just noticing the breath. And if the mind is really active, you're hearing a bunch of thoughts, that's okay. Just see if you can shift that attention back to the breath. Let's take 5 here. Maybe you can walk the fingertips a little farther out as you settle in. Big breath in. Maybe open your mouth, let it go. And we're going to walk the fingertips over to the left, bringing in a little side stretch. So just seeing if you can plant the right hand down and feeling a nice stretch through the right rib cage here, right side body. And then we soften and breathe. Notice what is the narrative in your mind. What's the stream of thoughts saying? And then we just shift the attention back. Take your next breath. Feel your hands on the floor. Last breath. take those fingertips back through to center, over to the right. Press down through the left palm and breathing out into the left rib cage and left side body. Two breaths here. On your next inhale, come back through to center. And then we'll press ourselves up to tabletop. So coming onto hands and knees. And just want to have a nice straight line, so wrists under shoulders and hips and knees are stacked. We'll take a couple rounds of cat-cow, so I'll have you breathe in, drop your belly, lift the gaze and the tail. Exhale, curl like a cat, chin to chest, press the floor away. Breathe in, drop the belly, look up. Exhale, curl it in. Two more times. Just warming up the spine, nice and gentle. And back to neutral tabletop. From here, we're going to thread the needle. So we're going to breathe in and reach the right fingertips up toward the sky, and then thread that right arm underneath the left so that the right shoulder and the right cheek try to come down toward the floor. We want to keep our hips stacked, and typically the hips want to shift to the left. So just see if you can shift those hips back over to the right. You should feel a nice stretch on the right shoulder and the right side of your upper back. Left hand, you can extend it out in front, or maybe just bend through the elbow and having some support. So just connecting to your breath. The idea is to stay with the sensations you're feeling in your body, growing some tolerance, knowing that the stretch that you feel, maybe the bit of tingling, this is not dangerous. This is just your body speaking to you, saying, wow, I really feel that stretch in my right shoulder and upper back. So we choose to breathe. And we choose to stay. Take 5 breaths here. Two to go. So if your arm is extended, bring it back and plant the hand, and you'll just press through that left arm to come out back into the tabletop. And we'll take a couple cat-cow to release that. So breathe in, drop your belly, lift the tail. Exhale, curl it in. One more of those. Neutral. We'll just take a couple hip circles here, shifting the hips back and around. Just imagine you can draw a circle with your hips. And you might hear some popping and cracking. It's very normal. And neutral table once again. And we're going to take our thread the needle on the other side. So with a breath in, reaching up left fingertips. And then threading it through, left shoulder, left cheek, come down. Choose your arm placement here. I'm going to extend the right arm And again, see if you can shift the hips a little to the left, and then we breathe. We make space for the sensation that's showing up. We're here for about 30 seconds. Three deep breaths. And on your next inhale, we'll slowly come up, finding tabletop once again. And this time we'll have you curl your toes under, shift your hips back, so we come into a little bit of a toe squat. We'll just take a couple of breaths. So this can activate quite a bit of sensation. It's not an area that we are typically stretching. So again, we observe, okay, what's coming up now? What do I feel in the body? And so I'm feeling the stretching sensation across my toes. And again, I'm reminding myself, right, I can notice that, I can breathe. And there's a difference between a building amount of sensation, and that's okay, we choose to stay and we choose to breathe through that. If at any point we get a sharp pain, well, that's information too. We have to notice that, and then maybe we make an adjustment. So if it gets too intense and becomes painful, no problem. You can simply come up off the heels, and you're still stretching the same place, it's just a little less intense. So we can learn by listening to our bodies, we can respond and make some judgment calls so that we're not causing pain or injury to ourselves. Let's take 3 breaths wherever you are. And let that go. Okay, we're going to move into downward facing dog. So find your tabletop and then hands walk out maybe another couple of inches. Tuck those toes under and we'll find our first down dog. So we want to plant the hands, fingertips are spread nice and wide. Arms are straight here like as if they were steel pipes. And we press the floor away. You can have a gentle bend in the knees if the hamstrings are really tight. And then imagine you just drop the head down, maybe give it a little shake. Imagine you can press your chest toward your thighs and lift the hips as if they're going up towards the sky. And then we can just start to make some movement here. So we say, let's walk the dog, start to pedal out the feet, straighten one leg, bend the other. You want to be pushing through your index finger and thumb the most, and that'll help to take some of the pressure off the wrists. So just moving with some breath. Make sure the head is released, the neck. So downward dog does take some strength. If you're finding this very difficult, the option is simply to come back and find a tabletop. Regain some breath and some energy, and then when you're ready, you could join us again. Downward facing dog, and again, just maybe pedaling out, stretching the hamstrings. Let's take 3 breaths together. Let that go. You're going to step your feet forward And walk your hands back, so we're coming into a ragdoll forward fold. So our feet are as wide as the mat here, and a nice bend in the knees, letting the upper body just spill forward and down. This is a little bit of a inversion because our heart is now above the head. So it's nice for circulation. You could ease this one up by resting the elbows on top of the knees in kind of a supported version. So option is to stay here, or if you want to go into the full posture, fully folding forward, you might then grab opposite hand elbow, making a box with the arms. Really let the head be heavy here, and again, it might feel good just to gently take the head from side to side. Option also to add a little movement. Again, just straightening one leg, bending the other, shifting your weight from side to side. Notice your feet on the floor. And again, if there's lots of thoughts going through your head, maybe there's some judgments. I don't like this pose. I don't know if I'm doing it right. This feels weird. Just acknowledge that the thought stream is there, and then choose to take another breath and come back to practice. Be here. Let's take 3 breaths together. Let the arms go, and we're going to start to bend the legs even more, and we're rolling up to standing now. So very, very slowly press through your feet, start to roll up one vertebrae at a time. Head is the last thing to surface. Maybe inhale, roll the shoulders up, back and down. You're going to step to the front of your mat. Inhale, reach up tall. And then exhale, we're going to fold forward. And step your right leg back. So coming into a lunge position. And let the right knee hit the floor, uncurl the toe. If you do have a block handy, you might like to put it underneath one of your hands for support. So in our low lunge, we want to have a nice 90-degree bend here, so the ankle is under the knee. Toes are facing forward, and so are the hips. So the hips are square to the front of the mat. And you really want to make this as long as you can. So really lengthen through the back leg. And then the idea is to get a nice stretch through the right hip flexor and the psoas muscle here. Really letting the hips drop down and forward. And again, bringing in some supports under the hands to elevate the upper body if needed. And again, we notice, okay, what's my body saying to me now? Now that we've taken this new posture, what's there? Let's just notice. And can we be curious about the sensations? So feeling activation and lengthening in through this area of the groin, inner thighs, and the hip flexors. So we just choose to breathe. And again, are you up here in thinking thoughts? Or can you drop your awareness back to noticing? Ground through that front foot. Have your hands planted. Allow the hips to be heavy. It's a shift and a choice. Are you engaging in the thoughts? Or are you stepping back and taking focus in sensation? What's here? What's here now? Breathe here. Big breath in. All right, so here we're gonna start to shift gears. We're coming into half splits. So you're gonna really gently start to shift your hips back and extend through the front leg. So you have your left foot flexed, so pulling the toes up, nice straight left leg, and shifting the hips back. So now we're gonna have a nice stretch for the back side of the left leg. You can choose to curl the toes under if you wish. So imagine you can pull your left hip back, and you should really feel a nice elongation through the whole left side of the leg there. Just seeing if you can keep the upper body elevated. And then we just breathe here. 5 breaths. Nira, sorry if you hear Nira snoring in the background. Nira, stop snoring. Take 3 breaths. Big breath in. Exhale. Let it go. Shift forward. Move your block. And then we're going to plant the hands and step back. Find downward facing dog. Shake the head out. Let's find that on the other side. So come down onto your knees. And now we step the right leg forward. Low lunge. And again, we want to really walk that left leg back, making it as long as possible. And again, we'll be lunging now here, letting the hips get low. Big, big stretch for the left hip flexors. This is a really good posture to take if you do a lot of sitting. It really counteracts the flexion that's usually happening in the hips if you're in a seated position at a desk. So we breathe now. Make space for whatever sensation you feel in the left leg and groin area. Choose your breath. Nira. 5 breaths. Last breath in. Breathe it out. All right, half splits. Start to shift the hips back. Straighten through the front leg. Coming onto the fingertips. Really flex through the right toes and pull the right hip back. So now we're stretching the back side of that right leg. And again, you might curl the back toes under there for a little extra support. Big breath in. And we'll release that. Moving forward. Take tabletop once again. Just bring that right leg back. Couple cat-cow, drop the belly, lift your gaze. Exhale, curl it in, press the floor away. Downward facing dog. And then we're going to look forward, walk your feet up to the top of your mat. We'll take a halfway lift, so draw your hands up your shins, press your thighs behind you. So we're making kind of a 90-degree bend with upper body meeting your hips into lower body. Breathe in, and exhale, release, fold forward. And then we're going to rise all the way up. Tall mountain, reach up over your head. Exhale, hands to heart center. We're going to move through for sun salutation A like we did last time. So when you're ready, breathe in, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step back. Find your plank pose. And if this is too much, you can always make it a tabletop by dropping the knees. Everybody, breathe in. And then we're going to lower down to our bellies. Uncurl your toes. Hands on your shoulders, a little back bend. Breathe in, cobra. And then exhale through tabletop, downward facing dog. Take 3 breaths. Inhale, tip your toes. Exhale, bend your knees, look forward, and then walk to the front of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Press down through your feet, reach up, tall mountain. Exhale, hands to heart. Now let's move through that again. When you're ready, big breath in, reach it up. Forward fold, breathe it out. Halfway lift. Inhale. Plant the hands and plank pose. 1 breath here. Maybe drop the knees, lower down to your belly. Inhale, cobra. Draw the elbows in. And then exhale through tabletop, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Biggest breath in, tippy toes. Bend your knees, look forward. And then step to the front. In breath, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Press down, reach it up, tall mountain. Hands to heart center. Let it go. Beautiful. So now we're going to come back down. And we'll be taking a wide-legged forward fold. So with this posture, we're going to open the legs up nice and wide. I like to pull out any extra flesh really to help the pelvis rotate forward here. So as wide as the legs will go. And we're going to take a forward fold. So big stretch through the whole inside muscles of the legs. So breathe in, lengthening through the spine. And then just start to hinge forward. Maybe you don't go very far because we're again listening to the body. And so as soon as you feel enough sensation here, that's where you know you stop. So we're listening to our body and respecting what it's saying. So you're not overdoing a posture and potentially causing harm. So once you meet your limit or your edge, then we just pause. And again, if you have a pillow at home or maybe a block, you can bring it in for a little support. And then we just choose to breathe. And just focus in on what's going on now. So if you feel little bits of like popping or tingling maybe, I find that happens behind the knee quite a bit. Again, those sensations are not dangerous. It's a sign that those muscles are lengthening. So staying with that, choosing your breath. Imagine there's a little bit, just like a micro bit of length as you breathe in. And then a micro bit of softness or heaviness as you breathe out. And just keep your focus there. Take 5 breaths. Notice the tip of your nose, 2 breaths. And then on your next inhale, press through your arms, walk yourself back in, and come onto our backs. So we're climbing down onto your back. Your legs are bent and feet on the floor. We're going to take a figure 4 or reclined butterfly pose. So you're going to cross your right ankle on top of the left thigh. Keep this foot flexed, and so you can press the right knee away from your body. So we're getting into the right hip now for stretch. And this could be enough. Like if you feel quite a bit of sensation here already, this is your figure 4, and this is where you stay. If you're looking for a little more, you could choose to bring the left leg in and then maybe interlace the fingers on top of that left leg and just use it as a little self-assist. So increasing the amount of sensation in the outside of the right hip. And then we choose to come back to breath. Check in. How are you? Notice what's there now for thinking and for thoughts. And can you notice what kind of thoughts are there? Are you worrying? Are you planning ahead? Are you judging about where you're at in the practice, not liking this pose? Again, maybe self-doubt, am I doing it right? Just notice the stream of thoughts, and then we choose breath. Shift the awareness back to being here. All of that other stuff can wait. Breathing here. You could choose to bring in a little movement. Just experiment maybe. Just an option. You can shift your weight a little from side to side. Just see what happens. Just notice the sensations. Let's breathe here together. 5 breaths. And we'll release. Let that leg come down. We'll take a little windshield wiper motion. So just let the knees just fall to one side and then the other. And we'll try our figure 4 on the other side. Crossing the left leg over now. Keeping a little flexion in this foot, and that just protects the knee. So press that left knee away from your body. And if that's enough, this is your pose. And if you would like to go a little deeper, bring the right leg in, and maybe then wrapping the arms or fingers around the leg for a little self-assist. What we're trying to find is just some sensation in the left hip. And we don't want it to be too intense. You can kind of think of the Goldilocks theory. So we don't want to have too little sensation, but we don't want to have too much either, so that staying in the pose is hurtful or unbearable. You're trying to find that middle ground where it's just enough, where it's asking you to be here and breathe. But again, not too much that it's unbearable or painful. And again, it might feel nice to add a gentle sway. And just notice how that changes the experience. Slow, deep breaths. You didn't pay extra for the snoring. Nira, this is my dog in the background. Hey, let's breathe here. 3 more. Life isn't perfect. There's going to be distractions. Last big breath. Let that go. Release from your pose. And again, maybe a little windshield wiper motion. And from here, we'll take a reclined twist. So opening up through the arms, like a big T. And we'll shift the hips to the right. Let the knees fall to the left. So with our twist, we want to be twisting from belly button down so that the chest is still facing up and right arm and right shoulder remain grounded. So if it pulls you over and the right shoulder lifts up, that just means that you're twisting a bit too far. So you might just let the knees drift down away from the body. Just practice where you are. If you can, bring the knees up a little bit further. Great. This is really nice posture for the low back. It's also a nice restorative pose for the organs as you're bringing in a little bit of twist into the lower belly. On your next breath, let's bring the knees up, square your hips, and then we'll take it to the other side. So take your hips a little to the left, let the knees fall to the right, and then again, grounding through the left arm and shoulder, maybe taking the right hand and placing it on top of the left thigh as a little assist. Drawing the breath down into the belly, slow and steady. Two breaths. And let's release. Bring the knees back up to center. And then draw the knees in toward the chest. Maybe wrap your arms around the legs. It can feel nice just to rock from side to side. We call this the hug of gratitude. So hug the arms in, giving a little thanks to your body for allowing you to practice in this way. And then we'll make our way into Shavasana, our final resting pose. So really letting yourself take up space. If you have a blanket nearby, feel free to use it, or any extra layers if you want to put on socks or a shirt. Just taking your time settling in. So let the feet flop, and arms, you can choose to have them down by your sides with palms facing up. But if you need a little bit more security or groundedness, you could choose to turn the palms down, or maybe one hand over the heart, one hand on the belly. Your choice. So Shavasana is a chance to let our practice sink in, so to integrate what we've done, and taking a moment to rest and be still. So laying here just for a couple of minutes. Let the breath just be natural now. Honoring this moment of quiet and stillness. So let's start to slowly reawaken, deepening your breath. Yeah, just starting to bring in a little movement. So maybe moving through ankles and wrists, fingers and toes. And gently maybe take the head from side to side. Let's bend through the legs, planting the feet. Just let the knees cave in toward one another. And then maybe reach up, take a little stretch. And roll onto your right side. Bring the right arm underneath your head for a little support. Maybe you're blinking your eyes open now if they were closed. And just noticing if you can think of one thing to be thankful for. Doesn't need to be anything spectacular. Maybe just the hot cup of coffee you had this morning, or the fact that you were able to join us for class today. So just notice what that might be. If what you're thankful for is a person or a being, imagine you can send them that gratitude. And then we'll start to slowly press up to seated. Coming into a cross-legged position. Drawing your hands to heart center, sitting with a nice tall spine. Just let the shoulders sink down from your ears. And you are invited to help me close our practice with one chant of Om. We'll take a deep breath in. Breathe out. Bigger breath in. And Namaste. Meaning the light in me sees and honors the light in you. So, looking forward to meeting you next time. Session 3 will actually just be very much building off of the same class, maybe adding 1 or 2 extra postures into the sequence, but just having you guys get more familiar with these types of postures, how to come back to breath when you notice that your mind has gone off into a thinking mode or you feel less present. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to coming back onto our mats for next time. Take care.